friends. Sharkie's Cozy Story Read Aloud. And this is the Magic Treehouse. It's a chapter book. And this one's called Polar Bears Before Bedtime. And there is Jack and Annie and a polar bear. And this is the Northern Lights, or the Aurora Borealis. Let's find out more. Said, "Are you serious?" Whew! The strange sound came from outside the open window. Jack opened his eyes in the dark, and the sound came again. Whew! Jack sat up and turned on his light. He put on his glasses, and then he grabbed the flashlight from his table and shone it out the window. A white, snowy owl was sitting on a tree branch. Whew! The owl said again. Its large yellow eyes looked right into Jack's. What does he want? Jack wondered. Is he a sign like the rabbit and the gazelle? A long-legged rabbit and a gazelle had led Jack and Annie to the magic treehouse for their last two adventures. Whoo! Wait a second, Jack said to the owl. I'll get Annie. Jack's sister Annie always seemed to know what birds and animals were saying. Jack jumped out of bed and hurried to Annie's room. She was sound asleep. Jack shook her, and she stirred. What? She said. Come to my room, whispered Jack. I think Morgan sent another sign. In a split second, Annie was out of bed. She hurried with Jack to his room. Jack led her to the window. The snowy owl was still there. Whoo! Said the owl, and then he raised his white wings and took off into the night. He wants us to go to the woods, said Annie. That's what I thought, said Jack. Meet you downstairs after we get dressed. No, he says go now, right now, said Annie. We'll have to wear our pajamas. I have to put on my sneakers, said Jack. Okay, I'll put on mine too. Meet you downstairs, said Annie. Jack pulled on his sneakers. He threw his notebook into his backpack, and then he grabbed his flashlight and tiptoed downstairs. Annie was waiting at the front door. They silently slipped outside together. So, this is another page. So I'm going to flip it around so you can look at the cover while I read. The night air was warm. Moths danced around the porch light. I feel weird, said Jack. I'm going back to put on some real clothes. You can't, said Annie. The owl said right now. She jumped off the porch and headed across their dark yard. Jack groaned. How did Annie know exactly what the owl said, he wondered. Still, he didn't want to be left behind, so he took off after her. The moon lit their way as they ran down their street, and when they entered the Frog Creek woods, Jack turned on his flashlight. The beam of light showed shadows and swaying branches. Jack and Annie stepped between the trees. They stayed close together. Whoo! Jack jumped in fear. Oh, it's just the white owl, said Annie. He's somewhere nearby. The woods are creepy, said Jack. Yeah, said Annie. In the dark, it doesn't even feel like our woods. Suddenly, the owl flapped near them. Yikes, said Annie. Jack shone his flashlight on the white bird as it rose into the sky. The owl landed on a tree branch right next to the magic treehouse. And there was Morgan Le Fay, the enchantress librarian. Her long white hair gleamed in the beam of Jack's flashlight. Turn in the page. Oh, we have a picture. There is Morgan Le Fay and the white owl. Hello, Morgan called softly in a soothing voice. Climb up. Jack used his flashlight to find the rope ladder, and then he and Annie climbed up into the treehouse. Morgan was holding 3 scrolls. Each one held the answer to an ancient riddle that Jack and Annie had already solved. You have journeyed to the ocean, the Wild West, and Africa to find the answers to these 3 riddles, said Morgan. Ready for another adventure? Yes, said Jack and Annie together. Morgan pulled a 4th scroll from the folds of her robe. She handed it to Annie. After we solve this riddle, will we become master librarians? Asked Annie, and help you gather books through time? And space, said Jack. Almost, said Morgan. Before Jack could ask what she meant, Morgan pulled out a book and gave it to him. For your research, she said. Jack and Annie looked at the book's title, Adventure in the Arctic. Oh, whoa, the Arctic, said Annie. The Arctic, said Jack. He turned to Morgan. Are you serious? Indeed I am, she said, and you must hurry. I wish we could go there, said Annie, pointing at the cover. Wait a minute. We'll freeze to death, said Jack. Fear not, said Morgan. I am sending someone to meet you. The wind started to blow. Meet us? Who? Said Jack. Who? Said the snowy owl. And before Morgan could answer, the tree house started to spin. It spun faster and faster, and then everything was still. Absolutely still. That was the first chapter. Let's read one more and find out a little bit more about what happens next. Chapter 2. The air was crisp and cold. Jack and Annie shivered. They looked out the window at a dark gray sky. The tree house was on the ground. There were no trees and no houses, only an endless field of ice and snow. Morgan and the owl were gone. Read the riddle, said Annie, her teeth chattering. Oh, no. All right. This doesn't have pictures on this page, so I will let you look at this picture. It looks like they ended up getting some good Arctic clothes. Jack unrolled the scroll, and he read, I cover what's real and I hide what's true, but sometimes I bring out the courage in you. What am I? I'd better write it down, said Jack, shivering. He pulled out his notebook and copied the riddle, and then he opened the book. He found a picture of a barren white field, and he read aloud, The Arctic tundra is a treeless plain. During the dark winter, it's covered with snow and ice. In early spring, snow falls, but the sky begins to get lighter. During the summer season, the snow melts and the sun shines 24 hours a day. Wow! It must be early spring right now, said Jack. There's snow, but the sky is a little light. He turned the page. There was a picture of a man wearing a hooded coat with fur trim. Look at this guy, said Jack. He showed Annie the picture. We need his coat, said Annie. Yeah, said Jack. Listen to this. He read aloud. The seal hunter wears sealskin clothing to protect him from icy winds. Before modern times, native people of the Arctic lived by hunting seals, caribou, polar bears, and whales. Jack took out his notebook and he wrote, The Arctic. Seal hunters wear sealskin. And this page, there's no pictures either, so I'm going to flip it around. He was too cold to write anymore. He clutched his pack against his chest and blew on his fingers. He wished he were back home in bed. Morgan said someone was coming to meet us, said Annie. Well, if they don't come soon, we'll freeze to death, said Jack. It's getting darker and colder. Shh, listen, said Annie. A howling sound came from the distance. And then more howling sounds, and more. What's that? Said Jack. They looked out the window. Snow was falling. It was now hard to see. The howling grew louder. It was mixed with yipping and yelping noises. What could it be? Jack and Annie saw dark shapes coming through the snow. They seemed to be running towards the treehouse. Wolves, said Annie. Great, that's all we need, said Jack. We're freezing, and now a pack of wolves is coming for us. Jack pulled Annie into the corner of the treehouse, and they huddled close together. The howling got louder and louder. It sounded as if the wolves were circling the treehouse. They whined and yelped. Jack couldn't stand it any longer. He grabbed the Arctic book. Maybe this can help us, he said. He searched for a picture of wolves. "Oh, hi," Annie said. Jack looked up, and he caught his breath. A man was looking through the treehouse window, and his face was surrounded by fur. It was the seal hunter from the Arctic book. And that was the end of chapter 2. What number is this? Chapter 3. And we will stop there. Bye.